So we're here with Talitha Wolf. She is one of the newest members of the TA team, and she just came out with two books, so that's amazing. But you have a third one coming out soon, right?
Yes, it is called Jesus Calls Me.
Awesome.
It's a book about identity poems, our identity in Christ.
Yeah. And that goes, is that a part of the morning strolls? I know we'll get into that in a second, but I just want to know.
Yes, so that is part of the Morning Strolls series. I don't know how many books that'll end up being because I write poems every day, Christian poems. So what I like to do is search for a certain topic, and then I'm able to find all kinds of different poems on that topic and choose them for the chapters. So in Morning Strolls Book 2, Jesus Calls Me, which I'll be publishing on April 15th, I will have topics like Jesus Calls Me Married, Wanted, Obedient, Wise.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so before we get too far, we will talk about your books just so that they know what we're referencing here. And I do have them with me. So also I did the green
Mm-hmm.
screen, so hopefully this doesn't mess it up. Illuminated Darkness was your first one, so that I just want to show them
Yep.
really quick, and then we'll talk about them. And then the second one you came out with was Jesus Is, and that is a part of the Morning
Mm-hmm.
Strolls. I think it says,
Yes.
yeah, right at the top, Morning Strolls.
Mm-hmm.
So when we said Morning Strolls, that's what I was referring to. So the third book of yours will be the second book of Morning Strolls.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now that we have those, let's lay some foundation. So to start off with, how did we meet? I didn't know if you wanted to go into that, if you want me to say that.
Sure, I can say that. We were in high school when we first met, and I think I reached out to you after my first 2 years of college because I was trying to find a job.
Mhm.
And then we got to know each other more when I was employed by the same movie theater that you were working at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of little like connections that we didn't plan.
Yes.
I think
Hmm.
if I remember correctly, I think it was a health class, and I think you and I were the only two freshmen. And so we just like clung to
Okay,
each other or something like that, where it was like we
that
felt so
makes
alone
sense.
compared to everybody else.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we just clung to
Yeah.
each other.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then the movie theater, we have that experience as well. And Anthony also worked there, so she knows him as well. And so the connections
Yes.
just keep going, and we just kept
Hmm.
coming together. So I think that's so fun.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that's how we met, but what made you want to write your poetry in your teen years? A lot of these came from your teen years. So what made you want to do that back then?
Yes. So when I was in middle school, I always loved writing. I felt like it was my best subject. I loved being creative. All my teachers would praise me for things I'd written. But the first thing I wanted to write just on my own, it came after I read a poem that my friend had written just because she felt like writing a poem. And she introduced me to free verse. And I had never heard of free verse poetry. And I was like, I want to do this. And the first poem I ever wrote was Circle of Life Wolf Style, which is actually in Illuminated Darkness.
Hmm.
And from there, it's like I liked writing on a few different themes. I loved how I could express my emotions. I loved that I could just rejoice in creation, which I like to do anyway.
Right.
And it just became something that was a passion of mine.
Yeah. No, and I love that you put the circle poem, your first poem. I love that you put that in your first published book. That's like
Mhm.
that is a full circle moment right there.
Yes.
Pun intended.
Mhm.
No, and let's be real, the teen years are rough. That's probably where I wrote a lot of my poetry too. I mean, that's a time to really express yourself. And so I think that it's
Mhm.
very strong of you being able to express yourself at that time and get those emotions out because not a lot of people can or think of it. They just kind of bottle it all in. So
Yeah.
you have that. But then also you have these poems from back then and you can read them now as an adult and like you've had these years of wisdom and experience and you can see your own growth and
Yes,
just
that's
where you
true.
came from. Yeah.
Mhm.
How did your publishing process go when you did your first book?
So the process was, I guess the thing was, in the beginning, like, I had always wanted to write books and publish them. Even from when I was 12 years old, I wrote this book about a 12-year-old girl who was super lonely and then ended up connecting with a guy that had a large family. And I loved that book so much. And I had written it, handwritten it, and then I wanted to share it with different people. And I shared it with a friend, and it got lost.
Mm,
And so I realized I need to start typing things. The other thing that made me realize it was I used to have all my poems on loose leaf just spread everywhere in my room because I was not the neatest person. My room was always a disaster. And my sister came in one time with two trash bags and just threw all my papers out.
oh
And I'm like,
no.
how could you? I don't know what I lost.
Oh
And
no.
so from then on, I'm like, I'll just type everything and then I can print it and then I'll have a source to keep printing it from so I can still read them and enjoy them. And in doing that, I started a binder where I was trying to put my teen poems in chronological order. And then when I came to the Lord, I was like, this would make a great book because I could do like a before and after of my testimony. You know, people could see what my poems are like before I knew him and then what they're like now that I'm getting to know him. And then I went through a phase where I thought, I don't think any of my poems from before I knew him are going to do anybody any good. So I'm just going to delete them all and rip them all up. But I had given that binder to a woman who was mentoring me at the time. And so she had kept it these past 10 years.
Wow.
And about when I was in her small group, she handed me it. It was a few months ago or however long ago when I started the process of getting this one ready for publication. She just handed me this binder and said, "Oh, here, these are yours."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Wow, these are the poems I try to destroy." And then thankfully, I also there was a copy on my computer I didn't destroy, so it was a lot easier to at least start going through them. And then you were the first one to read them, and you gave me a lot of advice that helped me along the way of knowing what I need to change, how I need to format it to make it ready for publishing. And then
Yeah.
also, you had mentioned how it was kind of confusing because the chronological, when you're dealing with feelings and emotions and things, I don't think it comes out as much. So then I ended up making it topical and chronological to
Mm-hmm.
make it easier.
Yeah, and I love how it all turned out. So I feel like we talked about this, but did most of those poems that you wanted to delete, were those mostly in Illuminated Darkness, or those kind of like scattered among
Yeah,
all of them?
no, only, yeah, exclusively in Illuminated Darkness
So
were the
Illuminated
ones I was
Darkness
trying
might
to
not have been a
delete.
thing if you had deleted those.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
God
I
has
had
a
literally
weird way.
tried. Hmm.
God has a weird way of being like, no, no, hold on.
Yeah.
And watch, what if this is your, I mean, this is your first book, baby, so that's a huge thing. This will always be a part of your heart.
Uh-huh.
But watch, this one might be the one that like takes off everything else.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
how that works out, that's amazing. That's so cool. So I feel that with the poems getting lost, because I also lost in high school. I wrote poetry too. Not a lot, definitely not as many as you did. You wrote a lot, which is good. I
Yeah.
needed to express more, but I gave mine to a friend and they disappeared. So
Oh, yeah. That's literally what happened to my book about the 12-year-old girl.
yeah. Do you
That
happen
friend
to
never
remember?
gave it back. Doesn't remember having it.
Do you happen to
Huh?
remember like most of the storyline at all? Like you might be able to recreate it or not really?
Well, I could recreate it probably. I know the basic storyline, but I was like, man, it's so sad when that happens.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's okay. I mean, you've got a lot that you're able to save. I mean, again, I've said this in
Yes.
videos. These are not thin poem books. There is a lot of
Oh, yeah.
poetry here. Do you remember how many is in each book?
About 240 in each
That,
book.
yeah, that's pretty good. And she has more to come.
And then Illuminated, yes, Illuminated Darkness has 5 stories in it too, one per chapter.
Hmm. Yeah. And I do like how you had the topics, because it is really hard to do the timeline, which is why like we bounced that idea back and forth. But when you said you want to do
Hmm.
topics, I was like, yeah, that's the way to go. That's how it's gonna work.
Yeah.
So you have your
Yeah.
sections in there. I love that.
Hmm.
So you kind of got into our next question, which was the journey of publishing your first book. Did you want to go more into that, like your adventure with KDP, or not really? Because that was that was a lot.
Well, that was a lot. I'm really glad that I had you helping me in this, because I had no clue what I was doing. Like I said, I had tried to reach out to some random self-publishing people who were probably scammers, and they kept being like, "Well, is your book ready yet?" And I'm like, no, not yet." But this was before I even started trying to get things together. Um, so then when I saw you, especially when I went into your house and I just saw all the books you had published, I'm like, wow, like it can actually be done.
Hmm.
And so the fact that you were willing to help me to figure it out, because KDP is like, I remember with the computer I had, I don't have versions of Windows that are 10. And on Kindle Create, which is what you were saying that you used to format your books, you needed version 10, and I had like 8.1 on 2 computers. But my one computer, which was my grandpa's computer, it had a fluke where I could still download it. And every time I click on it, it says, this is not going to work. You need to download it. But then it just pulls it all up. So I'm like, oh, well, it works somehow. And so, yeah, going through that, I think one of the things was I'm glad that there's proof copies and you can buy those, because I realized my first poetry collection, it didn't have page numbers in it in the whole table of contents. And I had gone through a lot to try to make the table of contents. And I'm like, oh, well, now it's all on page 10, and that's not going to help anyone find anything. So just, you had mentioned how you could go through page by page to see if things were right before you publish and print, and that helped a lot too
Hmm.
on Kindle Direct Publishing.
Yeah, well, in the table of contents, we you keep giving me credit here, but I don't really know everything either. So there was the table of contents
Yes.
one, and that was a fun little journey for both of us because we had a Zoom video, and she's sharing her screen, and I'm looking at her Kindle Create, and I'm looking at mine, and I'm like, I have no idea why everything's on 10. I have no idea. And then we went back to the Kindle preview. So we did nothing different. We went back to the Kindle preview and it was there. All the numbers were there. We're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I
It
have no idea how
right.
that
It just
happened.
magically appeared after you were on a Zoom meeting with me over it.
Yeah, see, and so there's some stuff like that that it's technology or we're just learning. And I mean, we've learned,
Yeah.
you and I bounce stuff off each other still all the time. So it has been really helpful for me too to have you, and May and Anthony, because we were all bouncing ideas and problems off of each other. And we all have such very different stories. And so like we can just pull advice from each other. I don't know. I love it.
Hmm.
All right. So, oh, well, we kind of talked about the next question was, do you want to talk about how you organize your poems and books? But we kind of went into topics. Did you want to go further in that or leave that where it was?
Um. Well, let me try to think. Well, I guess I did mention a little bit about how I was organizing. Oh my goodness. I got a little puppy and she's just trying to run off. Oh, is it still on?
No, you're
She was
good.
running off with my computer mouse. Okay, I gotta find her. I gotta find you again.
You're good. I can still see
Okay,
and hear
now
you.
I can get off. All right. She literally thinks that everything's a toy that you tell her not to play with, so I hope she doesn't still have it.
I love that.
Oh, goodness. So I was gonna say, yeah, I already mentioned how I like to take by topic and even search by topic in my poems, because yeah, when it comes to like the Morning Strolls series. So mostly with poems, I'm doing topics right now for organization purposes.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, and we talked about the morning strolls thing too, which I didn't know if you want to talk about this, but I've known you long enough that this woman loves to walk. Like you love to take walks.
Yes.
So when you said morning strolls, I was like, that makes so much sense because you are constantly walking. And she lives close enough to me that like I
Hmm.
would see her walking through my subdivision at my parents' house all
Oh
the
yeah.
time. And there was actually one time I just want to share for fun, but I was coming home from work, I think, and it was late at night, and you were walking Pebbles, and I pulled up behind you, and you stopped and looked
Mm.
back because I didn't say like hi or like acknowledge it was me. I was just pulling up behind to say I was gonna get out and say hi, and you started walking faster, and I was like, oh no, I'm sorry, this is me.
Oh
I
yeah.
totally spooked
I
you, and
did.
I felt so bad.
That's funny. I didn't even know that was you. You did tell me later. But yeah, that happened to me the other day too. I was just like, I don't know why these people are looking at me like this. But they
No.
were related to my fiance.
Oh yeah,
And
see,
I'm like, oh, well, that makes
but
sense
you're
then.
being
Like I
safe.
just hadn't seen them before. With Morning Strolls, it was such a great name. My friend, she's the one who actually, one time she decided to give me a notebook and she painted the front and she does calligraphy. And she wrote Morning Strolls with Jesus because she knew I love to go on walks and then I like to sit somewhere and write a poem. Because I reflect a lot on the walk and then at the end I'll have new poems to write.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good time
So,
with how much you walk, the distance you walk. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's a good amount of time to like really sit there and think and be in your head.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
hmm so yes, did you want to talk about, we talked about book one and two, and then we kind of talked about the third book. So do you want to get into the third book to kind of advertise and promote when that comes out, and then we can go into your next few books that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah, we could do that. So, um, the third book, I love the cover because every word on the cover, it's in a heart shape, and every word is a chapter in the book. And one of the things that inspired me to want to write about identity is my best friend for Christmas one year. She got me this uh, framed calligraphy with different words of our identity in Christ. And I would look at that and also one of the first poems I wrote was an identity poem that really started to build me up again after I got out of an abusive relationship. And I decided to write different identity poems, just going through the book of Ephesians, where a lot of that's listed, because we all need to be built up, especially when you've been so beaten down, like I was by verbal abuse, by like, spiritual abuse and different things. And being built back up in the Lord is what helped me in so many ways to love myself. And that loving myself is actually what helped me to feel comfortable with loving who I was as a teenager enough to want to publish Illuminated Darkness. So that's why it's so special to me, this book of identity poems. And I believe it can be really edifying to the people that choose to read it because once you have your identity and you know who you are and you love who you are, it helps you to pursue your dreams and to know that what you have to say, like especially as a writer, what you have to say is what people need to hear and what they need to read.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Well, you talked about earlier how you wanted to delete the Illuminated Darkness poems because you were worried no one's going to want to, that wasn't going to go anywhere, no one's going to connect to it. But I think like the very
Yeah.
raw poems like that, where it does show the struggles that other people deal with, they connect to those a touch more because they're like, oh, I'm not alone. And so having
Yeah.
this set of poems that go into abuse of any kind and being able to relate to that and see the growth between
Yeah.
abuse and your relationship with God is very beautiful.
Right.
Unique.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Another one for Morning Strolls coming or
Yeah, actually, so I have a third book in the Morning Stroll series that's I've already organized the poems into chapters, but I haven't taken it through to edit it all yet.
Mhm.
But it's called Jesus Restores Me, and I at first I was considering there's a chapter in there on grief and how he restores us in seasons of grief, which I just wrote recently. And at first I was thinking about putting that in Jesus Is, and I'm like, well, why don't I just make a whole new book with, different aspects of life where he can restore us in. So I
Yeah.
wrote, I think, about grief. I wrote about like when we've made sin mistakes and he restores us, or when we need to forgive others and he restores us through us releasing that forgiveness toward them, not to harm us, but to actually heal us, because I always thought that forgiveness meant that you had to reconcile with someone, and if you do that with someone that's abusive, that only just brings more pain. But he showed me that that's not the case. Like, it's something you do in your heart to release what happened to God and the pain of it, so he can begin to bring healing in that.
Yeah. I feel like forgiveness is a good, like you said, it's releasing that feeling in your heart, that burden of trying to like that hatred that's just sitting there is letting
Yeah.
that go. But then the other part is not
Mhm.
um kind of letting them walk all over you. That part is just don't let that happen. Like if you
Yeah,
pull away from
exactly.
that person or not talk to that person or just not, fall into their traps again,
Oh
Those
yeah,
are hard to
exactly.
do, but yeah, you can easily just forgive without having to be like, yeah, do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, and to the rawness too of your grief, that yeah, I think that needed a whole section in another book because I mean, you still could be going through the different stages of that as well, and you're
Oh
definitely
yeah.
come a long way um
Mhm.
from your moment of grief. And so like you're gonna have a lot of that you're still gonna be feeling and healing from and
Yeah.
pulling out. Yeah.
Yeah, I also put a chapter of lamenting in there, which I'm learning more about that too. Because in the Psalms, there's all kinds of lamenting Psalms where David expresses his feelings to the Lord in the rawness of them. And I think
Mhm.
so many people are scared to say certain things to God, like, oh, like, I don't want him to know how angry I am, or I don't want him to know that I'm actually angry at him for what happened. And I don't understand, or it's like I'm confused as to why he's not coming through like he said he was going to. And I love how David, he just says it, you
Mhm.
know? And that gave me the freedom to be like, okay, like I can say this too, and I can express this to God because God wants us to be able to be real with him, because it's only from that place of realness that we'll have a real connection with him.
Yeah. No, I love that. So with that, I mean, we've talked about other books too. Did you want to talk about any other books that you have just like in your mind and as work in progresses?
Yeah, yeah, we can. Um, so when you were talking about not falling into their traps again, the abusers, and how forgiveness doesn't mean to go back to them. It just brought to mind one of these other book ideas I have, which is actually I go into a memoir on that relationship, and also the ways I realized I can escape from this trap and I don't have to go back to it. And that's called Take Heed.
Mhm.
And I just I think that one's a real work in progress, because I had I guess I had about 40,000 words, but I think memoirs are usually longer. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to like keep it short or if I wanted to try to lengthen it and see where it goes. But I felt like if I kept it where it was, I'd be missing out on some of the vital things that God took me through to heal me, like building friendships with people was a big factor, and also, dealing with some of like my childhood trauma, different things like that. I felt like would add to the story. So I'm right now I'm adding to it to see if I like how it turns out with those things added. I may end up just keeping it what it was originally, but we're
Yeah.
just seeing where it goes.
Well, and if you, since those are like different chunks, if you want to do something like short stories, uh, I feel like there are memoir short stories. I mean, you're an author, you can do whatever you want. You're an indie author.
Yeah.
Um, but you could have it chunked it like that and have kind of like a small mini series of like childhood memoir, teenage.
Oh
You could chunk it out that way, and so that they all go together, but they could be their own standalone if you didn't like the flow of it.
yeah. Uh-huh, that's true.
Yeah. Again, you're an author, you can do whatever you want.
Mhm. And then another book, which I'm really excited about, because it's been a dream of mine to get married from basically a very young age, from the time I started watching Disney movies and, understanding like, oh, like people can fall in love and be in love. And then I was so heartbroken when my parents divorced because I'm like, man, I gotta prove that love exists. I gotta like have a relationship where a marriage lasts. And so I was I don't know why, but I was drawn to all these toxic men. And I'm like, well, I don't really want a marriage with these people.
Right.
So what is it that's drawing me to them? And my book I'm writing called Talitha, it's an epic poem basically going into the my dating history as well as coming out to a place where I loved myself because I think it was this low self-esteem and not knowing how to love myself that led me to a lot of these toxic relationships. And then, so in Talitha, I just go into details on how that got built back up. Like, I also go into details on what the relationships I was in was like. And now I want to finish it with a poem about my wedding day because I actually am getting married.
Hmm.
So I'm really thankful to God. And that book is unique in the way I'm writing the poems because instead of free verse, I've got the structure very particular for every poem. It's 27 lines and 13 syllables per line, and then every poem, the title is a past tense verb. So I really love that it's structured, but also I can tell the story of that in it.
No, I love that. I remember you talking about that a long time ago. Actually, you talked about that. We were walking a track, and oh, that was before he even proposed. And so, yeah, it just
Yes.
really fallen into place, and it's so beautiful. And I love watching that from the beginning.
Hmm.
I will say, I know you have a bunch of book ideas coming, and we can absolutely have another podcast. But we do have 10 minutes left, and so I do want to wrap
Okay.
up a few of the like right now. I want to say where they can find you in your books, and then we'll jump into the little snippet. And then if
Hmm.
we have extra time, we'll come back to your books or just kind of chat.
Okay, sounds good.
So, Talitha Wolf, again, is our newest member of TA Books. She does have her own TikTok, but you can also, comment on the TA Books TikTok as well, and the
Yeah.
information will get back to her. Um, she does have, do you have Instagram and Facebook?
I have not made a Facebook account yet, but I have Instagram,
Okay,
but I'm not very active on there right now.
we're not
So
either. That's why I was asking. I didn't know.
yeah,
No, we're trying
so
to
the
get back
main
into
I'm
that.
active on TikTok for the
Yeah.
main part.
Okay, well then
And I
we'll just
do
send you
have
to
an
TikTok.
author
You
that
do what? I'm sorry.
it's an author email.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll
That,
get the links from you and I'll put those in the description below of where you want people to mostly go to. And
okay.
if you just want just TikTok and email, then we'll just do that. But her books are
Okay.
available on the Amazon. We can see it on here, I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know. So those are available on the Amazon. And she does when is the third book coming out again?
April 15th
April
for
15th,
Jesus
so
Calls
very
for Me.
soon. And so yeah, you're gonna want to follow her on the Amazon. So you can get alerts for that and follow her on TikTok. And so you can, she is very close to 1,000 followers, which is amazing.
Yes, follow me. And
Get her
we'll
up
get
there.
there.
She's so close. So that's so exciting. And I'm so glad that you're a part of this journey with us. So we'll jump into the little fun segment we have. I don't know. I'm Me and May did it on the last podcast. And I think what we're going to technically turn, because we were trying to do a story, I think they're really turned into poems, which is the perfect. people to be doing
Okay.
this because you're a poem person and I have
Yes.
some. So we have where people wrote in on our TikTok page 3 words, and then the idea that me and May did was that I said the first 3 words from the person, and then she did 3 more words, and then we went back and forth and tried to create a story. But I just kept rhyming, so it ended up being more of a poem. So we can do whatever. I'm just still kind of getting a feel for this. But we did get a bunch of
Yes.
entries, which was really fun. So thank you guys. And we might not get through all of them today, but they will be done, I promise,
Yes.
at some point. So I'll say for you and me, we have 60 seconds after I say the first 3 words. It does not have to rhyme. So just any 3 words that come to mind when you hear it. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. The first 3 words are there were accidents.
There were accidents because the puppy was bought
By the girl,
who thought that
she had a cat.
because the puppy was cat-like,
He had on a fake hat. I know so many words.
so
3, 2, 1. Okay. That was rough for me too.
that was pretty rough.
Oh man.
You'll
Oh,
have to
no,
start
it's
the next one.
Man, I blank so bad with that. Also, we I said we were gonna do a poem and then you and I turned it into a story, so we're just whatever. I
Yes,
can't control these
this
things.
is how it goes.
It is hard to do 3 words because yeah, you almost want to say like those like on or the like you want to put those in there too to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's hard. Okay, so you ready for the next one?
Hmm.
Pictures, flowers, diamond.
The romantic items
First date, gifts.
from your beloved.
Uh, um, on our wedding,
We kissed
first time.
Emily.
Yes.
I was thinking
Um,
first time too.
first time love.
Not to be replicated.
Oh, this is so beautiful. Um, forever, um, to be. Sorry, I took up a lot of that time.
Again.
That
Okay.
was beautiful though. The parts that we had in there, that was pretty beautiful.
Yes, forever to be.
I love that.
I do love that too.
Okay, okay, so we're getting it. We've got our juices flowing. Let's do we can probably get 2 more in here. We got 3 more minutes. So the next one, you ready?
Yes.
Coffee, candy, tacos.
An unlikely combination.
An author's diet.
And there's no condemnation
Guilt-free snacks.
to boost creative flow
Ah. Um, open neural pathways.
and rejoice in.
Oh, you already said flow. I was gonna say going with the flow. But I feel like, yeah, it's fine. Well, we had 10 seconds. It's okay. That one was tougher. Man, see, if people gave me these ahead of time,
I
maybe that's
like the
what I need
neural.
to do.
Yeah, we'll probably look at them more ahead of time, maybe.
Maybe that's what we need to do. We need people in the comments help us out. Yeah, maybe we need to like if I give you the 3 words and then we read what we've written so we have time to kind of brainstorm it.
Yeah,
That might be more fun. Okay. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there.
this was fun though.
That was
I
fun.
thought it was.
Okay, so yeah, we'll probably do that next time is that I'll give out the words ahead of time and then we can kind of make up our own little story or pair or a poem or whatever we want to do with that.
Yeah, that'd be fun too.
That makes more sense. It's less stressful.
Yeah, it's kind of
Um,
like a game show when you do it with the like minute to win it.
yeah, right? No, I like
Yeah, so
that.
then your mind kind of shuts down
That's
because
exactly what
you're on a
happens
time.
is yeah, I just all words gone. I'm like, I don't know. Well, we do have about a minute left and then it'll kick us off, so I'll try to kind of slow it down around 30 seconds, but I already said where you can find her information is down in the description. And she has plenty of books coming forward, tons of ideas, a lot of ideas she hasn't even mentioned today, and that's fine because I mean, you've got time. As an indie
Yes.
author, you can do it at your own pace, whenever you want to, and that's so beautiful. And I've been so honored to be a part of this journey with you, and having your help as well. There's stuff that we've helped each other with.
Aw.
So yeah, welcome to the team, and thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And also, just for people that are wanting to read the books, when you look on Amazon, if you search up Talitha Wolf, TalithaWolf, that's the easiest way to pull them up because some of my names, like if you just search the name, it comes up with all kinds of different books that have been written under those names.